All right, welcome to yet another episode of Talking Shop, working from home coronavirus special edition. I've got my friend Matthew Ricks, who is a return guest on Talking Shop. I would much rather be sitting across from you at the coffee shop in New York City, but I'm here in Fishers. You're down at your parents' house in Florida. So how's everything going?
Good. We left New York about 4 weeks ago in anticipation of it getting pretty bad. So we've been kind of holed up here with my parents, my younger sister, brother-in-law, and niece. So there's 9 of us under one roof. So for as well as that can go, it's been going good.
Wow. So have you been able to get away for client meetings, or how's that worked with that many people?
So I'm lucky that my dad works from home regularly. So he's got his own area kind of set aside. My mom has her own business where she has her own office. She's an interior designer. So as you can see behind me, you'll see books and fabric samples and stuff. So my wife and I have kind of commandeered that, and we switch on and off throughout the day. And then a lot of time is spent. It's a gated community, so I'm fortunate to where I can always just go outside and put the headphones on and take a call. Or if my 5-month-old needs to take a nap, I throw him in the stroller and I'll take a walk with him, and also do some calls and catch up with people.
I like that, hitting a little bit of exercise and movement while doing some business. Not a bad thing.
Yeah, take advantage of it. It's a nice, sunny Florida, so do what I can.
Nice. So how are your clients holding up?
Good. I've been talking to them periodically, just checking in. The first check-in was a mental health check-in, especially once New York kind of got pretty bad with a lot of cases and a lot of positive results. Positive being bad this time. And just checking in. Didn't want to talk any finance. Didn't want to talk any accounts, markets. Said, hey, look, just want to see how you are, how you're holding up. You've been home now for a few days. What does that mean to your business? What does that mean to you? Those who have kids, those without kids, those whose business is very reliant on face-to-face interactions. How have they made the shift? So that's been going well. And then periodically checking in again, just to check in on the other things, the market, whether their plan is on track, how this affects their plan, what adjustments we need to make, if any.
So how have those conversations progressed from the first phone call, the mental health check-in, to the ones now you're checking up maybe the second or third time now? You're still probably getting a gauge for how your clients are feeling from a mental standpoint. How has that changed? Are they more optimistic now? Because I feel like the tone just in the last week has become a lot more relaxed, less scared, I think. And I'm not so sure how I feel about that. I almost want there to be a little bit fear still lingering a little bit longer, just so we don't go back to the old way too quickly. But what are you seeing? How are they handling it versus when you first called?
Yeah. So from, COVID perspective, I think New York is still the epicenter. So that they're not as optimistic potentially, but they've kind of settled into a routine and a rhythm. So I think that helps the mindset a bit, to where it alleviates a lot of fear and a lot of kind of agita, or just general stress. When it comes to the markets, having a little bit of a rally here has helped, I'm sure, from a emotional perspective, if they've been following it all, which, frankly, I tell a lot of my clients to stay out of the day to day, and they've been pretty good about that. So, there are a few who they have nothing else to do. They're retired. They're retired. They're sitting at home. So what are they doing? They're watching news all day. And of course, part of that's, numbers and markets. So it's some of them, it's like, okay, let's pause. Do you have any puzzles? What about crosswords? What about your grandkids? FaceTime with them. I introduced them to a couple different things to do online that they can do with the kids. I said, look, Zoom with your grandkids and go to the Natural History Museum. You can do an online tour. Here you go. So trying to keep their mind off of it. So still trying to more emotional and mental. But, there is talk, I did do some changes to portfolios, a couple adjustments to plans, just based on some people, weren't comfortable with the emergency fund number after all this. So just upping that into something where they're comfortable, or just, hey, look, maybe they're not as risk tolerant as they thought, to be honest.
I think you brought up a good point. I wonder how many people are watching, how many more people are watching CNBC or Bloomberg or whatever it might be, now that the options are limited with what they can do. Before they're out running around and doing plenty of different things. Now they're stuck at home. Hopefully the numbers haven't gone up, but that's a very good point. I think there's the opportunity to pay more attention to this stuff than what we would really want as advisors, because we know that just triggers all the emotions inside of our clients that we're trying to help minimize, because we know how the human brain works.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been alerting them to various streaming services, movie marathons going on. Say, hey, look, something, just anything but that, because that doesn't help. So some
Before
successful, some not.
Before we get to your tip for advisors, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. In this time, extra time with family, trying to find new ways to create these memories, what's been the one experience that you've done with you and your family that you probably wouldn't have done in normal times that you've really enjoyed, that you're glad that you've done?
Well, this is more geographic based. Being down here, obviously, if we were in our New York City apartment, we barely could leave. So we have the fortunate situation being here. So my dad rented a golf cart for the month. So I take my boys out for golf cart rides when the course is closed for maintenance, and we look for alligators and turtles and all sorts of wildlife. So obviously, a very different experience in the Upper East Side of New York.
Yeah.
So that's been some fun memories there. We found an eagle's nest and a baby eagle. So that's something where you're not going to see that in Manhattan.
Right. That's awesome. And so how old are your boys again?
Uh, One is 5 months and one is
Okay.
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5-month-olds definitely not remember this. I bet the 3-year-old remembers some of these things.
Yep.
He won't remember why, but he'll remember the eagle's nest. And if you guys catch an alligator, he definitely won't forget that.
Well, we're not trying to catch them. I'm
Well,
I'm not Crocodile Dundee, but no, yeah.
I meant visually catch. Yeah.
That's all we do. We
Don't
keep a
get too
safe
close.
distance. Yeah. I'm not Steve Irwin or anything like that, or Tiger King or whatever else.
Don't get me started on Tiger King. I have not. Okay, you started it. I have not watched it, and I refuse to watch it. And the reason is, I get that it's a release and it's a great distraction for now, but there are so many people out there that are doing great. Let me preface this with, I don't know these people at all. They might be
Mhm.
great people. That being said, there are a lot of people out there that are doing very productive things in life and doing great things that could use that coverage to promote the good things that they're doing. And instead, we get a show that gets, I think I saw a stat that it got just under what, I don't know if it's Game of Thrones, some of the real big show.
Yeah.
This basically got the same viewership. And I'm like, these people are crazy, and there's no value behind it. So I refuse to watch it.
So I think part of it, honestly, is there's a lack of sports. So you're a
Yeah.
basketball guy, you're a sports guy. When you watch sports, there's a sense of community. So I
Mhm.
think the Tiger King has replaced sports where everyone else is watching it, so you can talk about it. It's something to do, something to bring us together. Is it the right thing? I agree with you to a point there, but it's something.
Right. All right. Well, before I make too many people mad, because I know a lot of people like the show, one tip for advisors working at home that you've implemented over the last few weeks, and maybe it is get away. But what is one thing you've done that's helped you remain productive and be able to work with your clients with all the distractions and being able to be present with your family at the same time?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is, it's nothing new, nothing they haven't heard before. But when you're with your family, focus on your family. I don't check my emails. My wife works in the morning. I watch the boys. If we both have something in the morning, my mom helps out. But if I'm with the boys, I'm not on my phone. I'm not checking emails. If a client calls, I'll take the call and just step away real quick. But for the most part, I'm being in the moment with them. And that's been great because obviously in the hustle and bustle, you don't get a lot of time like that. And then, similar thing with work. When you're there, you're in the moment. I've got these bad boy noise canceling headphones, throw them on, crank the music, and just, head down and work when I have to work. So that's been the biggest tip for me, is just, whatever you're doing, that's your focus.
I'm gonna apologize because if somebody's listening to these episodes or watching them back to back to back, like I've touched on a lot of the same things. So just to continue our conversation together, as if no one sees any other episodes, we're doing the same thing here. I'm watching the boys in the morning. We kind of flip around lunchtime, and that's when I'll have my client meetings. Same thing. I will take client calls. I'll do emails and admin work while I'm helping the boys with e-learning and watching them. But I've done a bad job the last few weeks of shutting off. And I think it may have been Jeremy Walter or Kyle Moore and I were talking about it earlier this morning. And I was saying how I felt like I was constantly working nonstop. There were little breaks, but I was squeezing in emails here and there. The laptop's always open, even if it's on the island of the kitchen. And I didn't do a good job of stopping work thoughts for a while and just being present. Now, this week is spring break. We were supposed to be in New York City. So I've done a better job. Haven't had any client meetings, had some phone calls come up, a few of these things, which are real quick, but it's allowed me to we had beautiful days this week, thankfully, spend time outside with the boys, riding bikes and be more present with them. So next week, when we get back to school, I want to try to do a better job of having a time that I shut things off. I can always go back into the evening because that's what I did working from home. But I don't know why. For some reason, being here all the time, I just feel like I'm always trying to squeeze in work. So that's one thing I have to work on, and I would agree is it's important to do.
Yeah, it's been tough. My wife and I have talked about it a bunch and said, hey, look, because you don't have the boundaries
Right.
of work and home anymore, you're always just, your brain just can't turn off or switch from one to the other. So, we've left all our laptops in, my mom's office. We've left all our work stuff in here so we don't take it out with us in the other room. So it's kind of, okay, this is work centric. If we're in here, we're doing work to try to get some of that mindset and try to get some of that delineation. So, it's still a struggle, but you do
Which
what
is
you can.
Which is why I think the whole conversation about life changing after all this and more people working from home, I think that there may be more opportunities for people to split and spend time working from home, but I don't think you see corporations putting their workforces back at home because I don't think employees are going to want it. I think that as soon as we can get back to the office and have that separation and have that time there and be around our colleagues, I think people are going to go back to that. So what I think may happen is maybe some of the travel gets replaced by video conferencing. But I don't know if every corporation is going to say, hey, for 2 months, everybody worked from home. That was great. Let's keep doing it because I don't think that maybe if kids are in school, it might be a little bit different, but I think that there's still a need, community, if you will, to be in your workplace more often than not for most professions. So we'll see.
And you touched on the biggest thing is kids are home all the
Mm-hmm.
time now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be very different if, we have a nanny usually if, we had help all day, every day, or, a daycare or school or whatever, where you had time away from being a parent as well as working. That's something very different than the current situation.
I would agree. All right, man. Hey, I know you have a busy day, so I appreciate you taking the time to join us, kind of share your insights on what you've been doing, what your clients are saying, and kind of give that perspective and the good advice that you had about being present with your kids, with your family, not just the kids. I would agree. So, Matthew, thanks for taking the time. I'm glad you're down in Florida away from all the mess up in New York. I'm sure you're ready to get back home, but enjoy that nice weather while you can.
Yeah, we packed for 2 weeks. So if you see a lot of this purple polo, it's all I got for these type of things. So
I thought you were going the Michael Kitces route, just same thing every
that
time.
I could run with it, I guess,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
All right. Sounds good. Well, Matthew, thanks again for joining us. Everybody, thank you for watching and listening. And we'll see you all in the next episode.
Thanks, Justin. Always appreciate it, my man.